the strongest products that I have is that sense of community, building a culture around the channel, not only just around myself, but in a community of people where everybody can kind of have shared experiences with one another. That's what I've always focused on, is kind of building that culture, building that community has been always my number one most important focus, to give these people a safe place for them to hang out, to have friends, and have a place where everybody feels a sense of safety and positivity and everything that goes along with supporting one another.
Heroes are an inspiring group of people. Every one of them, from the larger-than-life comic book heroes you see on the big silver screen to the everyday heroes that let us live the privileged lives we do. Every hero has a story to tell. The doctor saving lives at your local hospital, the war veteran down the street who risked his lives for our freedom, the police officers and firefighters who risk their safety to ensure ours. Every hero is special and every story worth telling, but there is one class of heroes that I think is often ignored. The entrepreneur, the creator, the producer, the ones who look at the problems in this world and think to themselves, you know what, I can fix that, I can help people, and I can make a difference. Then they go out and do exactly that by creating a new product or introducing a new service. Some go on to change the world, others make a world of difference to their customers. Welcome to The Hero Show. Join us as we pull back the masks of the world's finest heropreneurs and learn the secrets to their powers, their success, and their influence, so you can use those secrets to attract more sales, make more money, and experience more freedom in your business. I'm your host, Richard Matthews, and we are on in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome back to The Hero Show. My name is Richard Matthews and I'm live on the line today with Carson Fresh. Carson, you there?
Yeah, hi, how's it going?
It is going wonderfully. And this is kind of a special treat of an episode for us. This is the first time we have had a YouTube streamer or a professional video game streamer on our show as a business person. So pretty excited to have you on here. You are known as EurekaFresh on TwitchTV, is that correct?
Yep, that's correct. And thank you for having me, for sure. I'm very, very excited and
I'm pretty excited because it's a not a really well-known business, right? It's really, really popular. There's lots of people who are video game streamers, everything from, commenters to video game streamers, Twitch TV, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of business that goes along in that space. But for most of us, like parents of young children, we just see the end product. We don't actually see the business behind it. So I'm pretty excited to get a chance to chat with you a little bit about what the business that is behind, the video game streaming. And I know, we're both in our 30s. I remember my parents always telling me, stop playing video games. You can never make money with that. And here you are running a professional business.
Exactly. I'm so glad that I didn't listen to them.
I did. I stopped playing video games when I was like 17 and just recently got back into it because my son's really into it.
Well, yeah. So, and that's the thing, is that it is kind of, like you said, it's a very, when people look at it and they just see that very, very surface level of like, oh, he's just playing video games, and it really is just, there is so much to it.
That's just the tip of the iceberg, I would imagine.
That is just the very top of it.
My son turned 10 this last year, and when he got to be about 9 years old, he really got into video games like really hard. And I bought my first console that I've bought since I was in high school, and we bought the Switch, and I have probably put more than 500 or 600 hours into video games with my son over the last year.
Sure.
And it's kind of fun to, it's a way that we can connect. And he spends a lot of time watching YouTube videos, which for the life of me, I will probably never understand, because he has a lot of the games he watches other people play. And I'm like, you could play that game. He's like, but I want to watch this guy play it. So,
sure. Right. And that's kind of the thing with streaming, is that, and anything on YouTube type of content creation is like, it's so many different channels, but they're all doing the same thing that you could be doing at home, but it's just more convenient to just watch somebody else do it, I feel like.
Makes a lot of sense. So let's start off with what it is you're known for now. What's your channel about? What are you sort of famous for in the streaming space?
Sure.
And then we'll talk a little bit about the business side of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so as you mentioned, I go by EurekaFresh. more specifically, I go by Captain EurekaFresh on board the SAS Eureka. It's a spaceship that I fly out in space. We call it the safe place in space for everybody to come and enjoy a positive, supportive community that we all share time together, and that's probably the thing that I'm known for most is having that safe place in space that we've created in a community type form.
Awesome. So my question for you is, how did you get into the business side of video gaming? Right, on our show we talk a lot about the origin story, how every hero or every entrepreneur has their origin story, where they started to realize that you were different, that maybe you had superpowers and maybe you could use them to help other people. How did you get into the business side of video games?
Yeah, so I started streaming about 3 years ago. Was the very, very first time that I did a stream, and it was very, very unsuccessful. It was very, very demoralizing. It was just a very it wasn't a very good experience for me, and so I quit. I immediately I only did it a couple times, and I said no, this isn't for me. And I left the space, and I kind of, it was always kind of in the background of my mind as like, that was something that I knew that I kind of wanted to do. I've always been, like a class clown type of person. I've always loved entertaining people. I've done stuff like been in like comedy troupes where we do live performances. Nice. And I've always really liked that kind of performance aspect. I've done music. I've been in bands. I do DJing and everything. And it was probably about 2 years ago I started really heavily getting into the music scene and music production and playing local live performances and everything. And I found that the music industry was kind of it wasn't for me. It was a little bit it was kind of a toxic environment, so I wanted to get out of that space. But I still had that that need to entertain and get in front of people and I don't know, get that personality out there. And so I decided to try streaming again. But this time do it kind of like we were speaking before, is kind of do it a little bit more structured. Figure out what I wanted to do with the programming of the show and like actually build a structure around it, basically. And so I started.
Yeah, so it's more than just like playing video games live.
There's so much more than
production value.
Exactly. So I did graphic design for a long time as a freelance designer, doing like business logos, and brand development was a huge area that I emphasized my focus in. And so that's kind of what I started with. That was like my bedrock, was like, okay, let's start getting graphics done. Let's start making a visual branding experience, and then start building from there. And so it's kind of all of these different facets of my life that have kind of all come together at like this absolute like zenith of this is like the trajectory of all of this stuff. And it's been really amazing for sure.
Yeah, that seems really cool. And it's a interesting business to be in for sure, because it's gigantically huge in ways that I don't think a lot of entrepreneurs understand, especially in the younger generations that are coming into their money spending years right now.
Right.
That's an important thing to understand, that you've got the millennials and the Generation Z, and then the generation after them, which is my son's generation, are growing up. They've grown up with the video games, and they're getting to the space where they can spend money. And like I was just commenting the other day, like my son's gotten into Pokemon cards, and I was into Pokemon cards a lot when I was a kid. We went to the regional championship, and I was like, when I was a kid, I couldn't afford any of this stuff. So like I won a couple of tournaments when I was a kid and made some money and bought some stuff with that. But I was like, as an adult, I have discretionary income. I got money to burn. My son and I, yeah, my son
That
and I
could be a
went there and I
problem.
was like, yeah, I was like, if you're into this, like, let's get into it. And I spent
Yeah.
like $300 or $400 on cards and like all the stuff, and we have everything to like play, and we're gonna go do some of the tournaments and stuff because we can,
Right,
right?
right,
And that's
exactly.
like that's the audience you're talking to. You're talking to an audience that grew up with this stuff, that now has the discretionary income and the money to put into things that they really enjoyed as children.
Right.
And now they probably are having their own children and they're doing these kinds of things with them. And
Yeah, and
it's just
having
an
that shared
entirely different world.
experience.
Yeah, it's an entirely different world than like the world that you and I had with our parents growing up, where our parents were like, "Why are you spending all this time on video games?"
I
Right,
know.
or whatever it is.
Could you imagine what your parents would think if they heard you say you spent $300 to $400 on Pokemon cards?
Yeah, but it was fun, right? We
Yeah,
got
it's
everything from
amazing.
like the little boxes to put them in and the little sleeves, and we got the little play mats and got enough
Absolutely.
cards to build a couple of decks. And I started teaching my son the strategy behind it, and
That's
he's
so
actually getting pretty
awesome,
good.
though.
He's beaten me a couple of times already.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, and he's like, I'm ready to go like to one of these tournaments and actually play. So like
That's
it's that
super
kind of thing.
exciting.
And yeah, and he's doing the same thing. We're currently playing through the I'm gonna forget the name of it. What's the latest Pokemon game called? Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Sword and Shield,
Um,
that's correct, yeah.
yeah. Have you streamed that one yet?
I haven't. I unfortunately do not have a Switch, so it has made a damper on the content creation. I would say though, I would that you're lucky that he's gotten into Pokemon and not like Magic the Gathering, because that's where, whoa, that's where the money is right there. There's so much money in Magic the Gathering. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's insane. And so I guess my next question for you is so we talk about this all the time on the show, is your superpower, right? What is it you do or build or off this world that helps solve problems for people? The
Sure.
things that you use to slay this world's villains. So in the context of your business, it's like what is the actual thing that you deliver to customers or to your
Hmm.
clients, in this case your viewers,
Yep.
and how does that translate into revenue for your business?
Right. So the number one most important aspect of my channel is like what I was saying, is that that sense of community and building what we consider the Eureka Friends, is one of the the strongest products that I have, is that sense of community and building a culture around the channel, not only just around myself, but in a community of people where where everybody can kind of have shared experiences with one another.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've always focused on, is kind of building that culture, building that community has been always my number one most important focus, is to make sure to give these people a safe place for them to hang out, to have friends, and have a place where everybody feels a sense of safety and positivity and everything that goes along with supporting one another. Like we have a ton of different facets of the channel. That's not just the Twitch channel. It's the Discord that we have with the community in there.
Yeah, and that's an online forum for any of our guests who don't know what Discord is.
Sure, yeah. So it's a Discord is like a messaging online forum type program, and anybody can come in and are invited to join into that Discord where we hang out. We have different channels that everybody shares stuff in, and then you have social media aspects where we are interacting with one another everywhere around there. So that's always been the number one big focus for me, is providing that for people, especially, I mean, in times where we need that kind of that support from one another. I think that's a very, very needed aspect in a lot of people's lives. And so the video games is a very, very very, very surface level type stuff. The video games that we play is merely there for I would say
It's
more
just the
like,
method of connection.
right. Exactly. Exactly. It's just the way that we are able to connect and give somebody a little bit more value to just instead of just hanging out. But I mean, we do what's called just chatting episodes where it's just me hanging out and having conversations with the chat. Like everybody just will drop their comments in chat and I'll respond to them. And we just hang out one-on-one with everybody that are not one-on-one, but that's how it kind of feels
One
with
on many.
everybody. Yeah, yeah, exactly. One on many. So, and so that was always the big focus. I learned that from a streamer that I watched that I was part of their community. And I was like, this is what needs to be out there for everybody to experience.
So I have a sort of a more specific question, just because
Sure.
I'm interested in how you figured this out yourself. How do you guys decide what video games you're going to stream, and
Mhm.
like what systems are important to focus on? Because I know like there's the PC world, and there's the PS4 world, and there's the Xbox One world, and the Nintendo Switch world,
Sure.
right? And those change every couple of years when new systems come out. How do you sort of decide where your focus is going to be on, like which systems and like what video games?
Right. So something that we did pretty unique for the channel for when we started. We started the channel, the EurekaFresh channel, 3 years ago, but really started up last July. And when we started
Mm.
in July until just a couple weeks ago, we were in what I called season 1 of the show, and we did every single week how the show's format was every single week I would pick 4 games and I would put it out for the community to vote on every single week. So I would put up a new YouTube video and we called it the pie because I would show like a pie graph after and see which game won.
Yeah.
And I would put up the 4 games and I would let the community decide. So I allowed them to put in their input and have everybody kind of be part of it. So it's not only my show, it gives all of our viewers out there, all of our friends, it gives them a sense of connection to the program. And so
Yeah, to the content that you're creating.
exactly, because it's like I was saying, I'm not a good video game player. I'm not I'm not a professional. Like there are video game athletes out there that are extremely talented. I for one am only mildly talented with it. Like I'm more focused on the entertainment side of it. However, I mean, we still want to be able to give everybody that everybody still wants to see video games. So giving our viewers the opportunity to, shape the show as they want to see it, because I'm not going to I don't have enough experience in one video game where I'm like, this is the game that I'm going to show all of you. It's like,
Yeah.
show me what you want me to play for you. And so we did that for 30 weeks. We did 30 different pies. So we had like over 120 games get put up. We played 30 different games. We played over 30 games since July. And it was really, really awesome because it was fun to watch the community decide. And like I would pick 4 games based on a lot of different things. You're looking at like you said, trends on like social media of like, staying up in front of
What games
the
are being
video.
talked about, and
Right, what's in the zeitgeist right now? Oh, the new this game's coming out in a couple weeks. Maybe we play the old version of it because there's a bunch of remakes. Maybe we play something kind of akin to that genre. Like, oh, there's a bunch of indie games coming out right now. Let's go back and see what's on that. Also, another thing that I would look at is like Steam sales. If there were sales on Steam,
Mhm.
because like I said, I mean, we would pick 4 games and I have like a large library, but business wise, you want to cut costs where you can. And it
you
also
can't
added a
buy
little bit of
everything.
you can't buy $60 games. No, absolutely. And sometimes I would trickle in like a $60 game and they would be like, that's the one. And I'd be like, okay, shoot. Or the cell would turn off and
or playing the expensive game.
right, exactly. But I mean, luckily there's already been, like you were talking about, we have a kind of an income that can be disposable. So so I already have a quite a plethora of games anyways. So I would choose from games that I already owned to games that I would sprinkle in a new one here and there. What games were on sale, so that would also give the viewers an added benefit of like, oh, this game is on sale. I saw EurekaFresh play that. I'm going to go and play that game because it's on sale, kind of thing. So there's so many areas.
How does that drive revenue for you? Do you get like affiliate sales from video games, or is it ad sales for viewers on your channel? Like how does any of this turn into revenue for you guys?
As far as affiliate wise goes, there really isn't any as far as my channel goes in the games themselves. There's a lot of areas where you can you can get in contact with these brand developers, but there are so many gamers out there playing these games and streaming these games that it's very, very difficult to land an affiliate with an actual production studio or anything like that, or distribution company. However, how the revenue works is just through pure viewership, and then utilizing an affiliate program outside of that, where I have studio equipment, and we talk about, if you want to become a streamer, then you use affiliate links like through Amazon, and you're getting sales through that sort of way. The video game side of it is very difficult to kind of break into that, as far as getting monetary value from the games themselves.
So does Twitch offer any sort of like AdSense style revenue like YouTube does for viewership on your channels?
Sure. So like how the monetization of the channel works is that Twitch offers Twitch offers an affiliate program for certain streamers. There are basically 3 tiers of streamers. There are the very first starting out streamers, there are affiliate streamers, and then there are partnered streamers. And those are all based on your channel's analytics. How many viewers do you have? What is your congruent viewership, or what is your average viewership? You have to hit a certain amount of average viewers. And you have to have a certain amount of hours and days put in to qualify for it. Once you've qualified into the affiliate program, in which we're sitting in right now, viewers are able to subscribe to your channel for a $5 fee. Or there are 3 tiers. There are a $5 tier, first tier, second tier is $10, third tier is a $20. And then also Amazon owns Twitch, and so if you have an Amazon Prime account, you are able to link your Amazon Prime to Twitch and offer any streamer a free subscription just because you have the Amazon Prime. But that also goes towards the streamer. Then once you have broken into that affiliate level with Twitch and have become affiliated with them, also viewers are able to do what's called cheering bits, and that is a 1-for-1 payment towards the streamer. So people are able to they'll buy these bits from Twitch, and then they can cheer them to you as you play. Yeah. So as you're doing stuff that's entertaining, the people are cheering these bits, and it's a 1-for-1 payment towards the streamer. So we do a lot of different things.
So if I'm understanding that correctly, it would be akin to someone liking a video on a Facebook Live, giving the little hearts, but it's actual monetary value.
Exactly. And you can cheer at different increments. You can cheer 1 bit, which would be 1 penny, or you can cheer up to, as many as 10,000 bits if you want. There's no real limit on it, and it's a penny value for it. So like we've had some insane charitable donations to the channel, and that's kind of where the monetization comes from. There are also AdSense revenues that come through that, but luckily our channel has been so successful in a way that, you know, we have basically close to 100% subscriber viewership. Like anytime that we are streaming,
Wow.
Almost 100% of our viewers are paid subscribers, which is absolutely amazing for sure.
So have you reached a point where your streaming business here is actually a full-time income?
I wish we are slowly getting to that point. You know, doing stuff like this is really helping getting that opportunity to get out there in more faces and get in front of more people. But like I was talking about before, is that, you know, you operate in these bubbles. I'm sure that you guys have experienced this as well, is that, you know, you start out with a bubble that's pretty small and pretty easy to pop. And then once you get into the next bubble, you realize, okay, this is going to take a lot more growth for me to pop this. And then you do pop it eventually. And now, whoa, you're in a really big bubble. And it's harder and harder still to get through there and bust through there. So
That makes sense.
it is a job for me, for 24/7 job. I am constantly doing it. But unfortunately, monetarily wise, we're not quite there, but soon hopefully we'll be able to reach that point.
That's cool. So another curious question, just more on the specific side. I know because my son watches a lot of these streamers that they tend to have pretty, I would say, like consistent genres that they stick in for video games or for like audience wise. So
Sure.
like I'm gonna forget one of these guys' names, but he does just Switch games, right?
Sure.
And because Nintendo's audience tends to skew younger, right? I know you mentioned earlier you tend to play with games like Doom and other things, which I assume the audience skews older.
Yeah.
Is that do you have to be cognizant of that hey, your audience is going to be sort of in this age range, they're going to be interested in these types of games and that kind of stuff? 'Cause I know, like, you know, they have to, his audience is very child friendly, right?
Sure.
So like he's got to be that way because he's playing Nintendo games.
Right. So so there are a couple things that, like, you know, there's been a new law enacted where you have to specifically state whether your content is deliberately made for age groups under the age of 12.
For children. Yeah.
And then otherwise you can state what it's not or it is, kind of thing. But you do have to be
That's
aware
the COPA Act,
of
if anyone is interested in it, right? The Child Online Protection Act.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure exactly what the name of it. I see it every day when I upload stuff to YouTube, but I just click no, and then I just go, I'm like, nope, it's not. So
you're like, we're not child friendly. We murder monsters with big guns.
Sure, right. But you know, one of the things is that, like I was saying, is like having the channel based around a positive viewing experience, is that, like, you know, you do have to be cognizant of that in a lot of different areas. And I have I have a lot of things where, like, in my chat, you know, we don't allow like any cursing in the chat. I try to keep that to a minimum, you know, as far as like my own censorship goes. and kind of base yourself around that. And it's hard because you don't really know, through Twitch analytics, you don't really know a lot of your age groups ranges. It doesn't provide that information, but you can kind of, you know, get a sense of it, how they interact with you in chat.
Yeah, how they talk.
Like, yeah, exactly. You're like, okay, this is probably a kid. So let's be, you know, cognizant.
Yeah,
of
and
that.
I know, like you mentioned, part of your brand is like your safe place in space, right? So I imagine you're staying consistent with that, with like how you talk and what games you play and that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that's the biggest thing, is like branding is such a huge, crucial part of a successful content creator. Or I mean, it's genuinely the, you know, as somebody that comes from like a graphic design background, is that like branding is your everything. You know, it's how you
Yeah, it's good.
conduct
It's what's going to
yourself.
make you recognizable in the marketplace.
Exactly. And what gets you to stand out. You know, it's like anybody can go and anybody can get a $30 webcam, plug it into their computer and start and stream. You know what I mean? But
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
that.
that's the discussion we've been having with my son. Is like he wants to be a YouTube streamer, and I'm like, let's talk about, you know, production and like branding and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, I don't want to do that. And I'm
No,
like,
no,
you
no,
don't
no,
want to
no.
be a YouTube streamer yet?
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like, because there's
You just want to be
so
famous, and which is fine. You know, that's a good place to start for sure. But yeah, exactly. Once you
yeah.
start realizing that there needs to be a little bit more to it, then that's when people are like, oh shoot, I didn't
Yeah, I
realize
mean, there's
that.
like some real. You mean we have to actually try? We don't get to play video games online for fun. Don't
Right,
even get
yeah,
paid for it.
exactly. Yeah, like we've been kind of talking about a lot, is that like playing the video game is very like that is like, it's kind of like my I guess my treat for myself, is that I get to actually play the game after doing so much stuff, you know, constant online marketing, constantly building new content ideas and coming up with new stuff and getting new equipment set up, dude. I mean, it gets really
Yeah,
gets
it's
a
a
lot.
constant thing for you, I imagine. And like I know I watch a lot of different YouTube channels for various things. And it's amazing sometimes to see how much effort, right? Because you know, I help clients develop YouTube shows, right? So you have a sort of an insight into like what it actually takes to do some of that stuff. And you know, to see all the creative things people are coming up with for, you know, types of content and where they're going and what they're doing. And like, you know, we traveled. I tried starting a travel video blog of like what we're doing in our travels, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, yeah, just trying to keep track of like, hey, we did this day, and like here's all the videos I took the day, and remembering to take videos. It was like, it was too much for me. I couldn't do it.
Right,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Now we're editing, and like dude,
Yeah.
it piles up really, really, really
So
quickly.
So just another curious question for you. I'm curious how consistent this is, right? So one of my businesses we run is called Push Button Podcasts, and I help
Cool.
clients build and develop their podcast. And we do a weekly show generally with them, about, you know, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour's worth of content every week, and we handle everything, right? So they just show
Mhm.
up, do their you know, provide their content, and we do everything else for them. And
Oh
what we've
wow.
found is that for every about hours worth of content, there's about 8 hours worth of work, 8 to 10 hours worth of work to make
Sure.
that hours worth of content public. How
Hmm.
do you find that in your business as well? That's about what it is.
That is a very, very, very accurate number for sure. I think that, like I said, I mean, this is genuinely a 24/7 kind of operation. Is that, you know, there's so much more than just hitting that go live button and then hitting stop live and it just magically happening. You know what I mean? Is like, yeah,
Yeah, I know.
you're spending upwards to, you know, anywhere, I don't know, 8 to 12 hours easily to create that 1 hour of upload. I mean, I delve a lot of my YouTube content is re-edited and added production to streams that we
Mhm.
have already done. We're starting to get into an area of new content creation where it'll be YouTube specific content and then Twitch specific content, and they kind of will start bleeding
That's just
back and
making your
forth.
hours go up.
Right, exactly. And that is one
Oh
thing that
yeah,
I've like
that's
started looking at and just being like, oh gosh, oh no.
yeah.
What
I'm gonna
am I
say like
doing ahead of
on our
myself?
brand side, my my clients, like I've been telling them for years, like you should get a show going, right? Because it's a great way to build an audience for,
Hmm.
you know, business development. And you know, a lot of my clients sell courses and stuff online, so we're like, hey, you should have a show and actually build and develop an audience around your expertise. And I tell them to do that, and they record an episode or two, and then they realize how much work it is, and they don't ever do it. And then, you know, like I started this show, and you know, I recorded I think 8 episodes, and I got 3 of them published. And after I got the 3 of them published, I was like, if I publish the rest of these, I'm going to starve, right? Because I'm not going to have enough like time to do my regular business thing. So I had to build an entire business and system around getting just my show published, and that's sort of what turned into our push button podcast thing. So I can tell my clients, hey, you can just show up and record, and we'll do everything else for you, because I know
We've
deep
already
down
done it.
how much work it is.
Right, exactly.
So
And
much effort.
well, it's like at that point, you know, it's genuinely like when you get to that point of it being so much work ahead of you, for you to not find a way to monetize it is foolish, you know, is like you were putting in so much work that you have to start kind of looking at like, okay, how do I turn this a bunch of work into an end result product for people to consume? So
and then it allows you to keep doing it, right? Because if you couldn't turn it into monetization of any sort, then you wouldn't be able to produce the content. You just you would eventually starve.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of people kind of I don't know if fail is the right word, but like a lot of people don't have that understanding of what it is, and I definitely didn't. So like kind of harking back to when I very, very first started, that was the thing, was that it was like, oh man, I'm doing all of this work. I'm doing everything that I see people doing. Why am I not like making it? Like, why is nobody watching this? And like,
because you're just seeing the surface.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't ready to dig deeper into it. And yeah, I mean, you realize how much work it is, and if you're not ready for that grind, man, it can really just turn into a very, very negative experience. You're like, nope, I don't want anything to do with that.
So my next question for you is your fatal flaw, right? So we talk about this on the show. Just like Superman has his kryptonite, it's something that you struggle with in your own self, your own personality, that has, you think, held your business back. And I think more importantly than what it is how have you overcome that, or how are you working on that? So someone who's running their own business who struggled with the same thing might learn a little bit from you.
Sure. The fatal flaw. I mean, one of like the most difficult things, I guess, is understanding that, you know, everybody is starting out at some point, and that it's not going to be something that happens overnight, and having to remind yourself that is a very it's a very difficult challenge. Is that I still have that mentality of like, man, I'm doing everything. We should have 1 million viewers by now. And to really kind of pull back and understand that no, that's not the right mentality to have at this point, is understanding that, you know, with any sort of business, any sort of project, you know, the project wants to fail. Like a business, I feel like the business wants to not exist. The business wants to not, and you have to constantly fight to keep that business alive. You constantly have to keep that branding alive.
Physics term is the second law of thermodynamics, right? All things want to go from order to disorder.
Yeah, exactly. And that is 1,000% what business is. And so I think my biggest thing is coming to terms with that, and understanding that, you know, you have to genuinely constantly be working at it. Otherwise, you know, that flame is going to burn out, and you have to keep.
It's like building the sandcastle with the waves coming in. You're like, the waves are keep hitting it. You have to keep building it, keep it going up. Otherwise, it's just going to be gone.
Going, dude. You just have to keep it going. So, I mean, and that's the most difficult thing, is to, I think for any business owner, I think for any entrepreneur out there, you know, we all have these grand ideas of success. You know, we see like Steve, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, Kiyosaki.
Yeah.
You know,
Robert Kiyosaki.
Right. Yeah, Robert. And you know, we see that and we're like, oh man, we're gonna be just like that guy. We read his book. We're gonna do it for sure.
Yeah, but if you look at his stories, he didn't become even like famous in his work until he was in his 60s, right? And he started his business stuff in his teens.
Much later, right? Yeah, exactly. And that's I mean that's just kind of the story of an entrepreneur for sure. And I think that being able to find a sense of uh, like security within the constant growth is coming to terms with that and being comfortable with that idea of like, this is where we are now, let's stay within this and get comfortable where we are so that we can continuously grow as time moves forward. um you know, we started with a very low number, but you know, we have a very, very strong backing and support system from all of our friends of the channel. And you know, I think that a lot of people have like self-doubt issues, and you know, think, or I do it especially. I have a lot of like, man, I'm definitely not good enough to do this. I'm not going to make it as a professional, this or that. Like, but really leaning back on our community and that support system has been something that has really, really helped drive me to continuously go forward with it. Is like our the audience that we have is my motivation to continuously grow with it.
Have you reached a point with your audience growth where you feel like you would fail them if you stopped?
Yeah, no, yeah, that's kind of like where we are for sure. Is that I don't want to have that floor fall out from underneath them. Um, I'm sure that everybody would be fine if the channel stopped going, but I genuinely do feel that what we've created and what I've been able to cultivate as far as a community goes, I think that that's extremely important for a lot of lives to have in and or around them for sure.
Awesome. So I want to talk a little bit about your driving force, right? So, because I think it ties in really well with what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like Spider-Man fights to save New York, or Batman fights to save Gotham, or Google fights to index and categorize all the world's information. What is it that you guys fight for at EurekaFresh?
So, kind of like what we've been talking about a lot is the number one most important thing that I fight for daily and constantly is providing positive force into everybody's lives. You know, we live in a tumultuous world. You know, there's a lot of things going on that people need that positivity in their life somewhere in some way, and in especially the online video game world industry, wow, is it toxic and negative. There is, I mean, there are shows there's YouTube, you know, content creators out there that base themselves around being negative and, you know, and being mad. And
Yeah, we have to we have to police some of that with our kids and make sure it's like, hey, well, you know, what shows are you watching?
right.
And like for us particularly, we love it when we find content creators like you that we can trust to put our kids in front of and let them watch and interact with and be part of those communities because they want to have that community.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it's you know, and it's hard, you know, it's hard as parents to, you know, to police everything. I can't even imagine the struggle that you guys have to go through of being like, "Oh, nope, you can't watch this." and just finding
like
out
that,
like
that
you're just
guy's channel you're not allowed
by.
to watch.
Yeah, and it's like
we've had a couple of them where we're like, you're not allowed to watch that channel, and we'll have to put it on the block list or whatever.
Yeah, can't
and like there's
anymore.
certain video games that that he plays that have like online chat functions, and we have to go in and turn them off because, you know, more than half the people that are on there chatting and playing and stuff like that are just
Screaming profanities.
yeah,
It's
and you're like, yeah, you're
insane.
not allowed to be a part of that.
Yeah, no, we don't want anything to do with that at all whatsoever. And so, you know, and that's like why we do stuff on my channel, for doing like the no cursing in the chat. You know, that's just a very, very, very basic rule functionality that everybody has to kind of adhere to. Is like, nobody wants to see, because I have chat rolling on my screen the entire time, And I don't want people to like come to the channel and just see a bunch of curse words all over it. Like that's I don't know. I find it very just kind of, it turns me away from it immediately when I'm like, okay, like whatever, you do you, but
So
I don't want
it reminds me of you've seen Apple Plus or whatever, the Apple TV Plus or whatever, the shows that they make?
Oh, you're right.
Apple started making. Yeah, so they have a show called what's it called? I can't remember it. It's something about video games, right? It's a video game development house. And it's a sort of show, sort of like The Office, except
I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, I know what you're.
I can't remember what it's called either. But anyways,
Sunny in Philadelphia.
No, that one's PBS, but that guy's in it. Yeah,
that guy's in it, right?
But anyways, the one of the episodes they were talking about building a shovel or something like that for the video game, and they were like the big thing that they had to worry about was the TTP metric. And the TTP metric is, if you have a world, this online world that the people do is like, how long will it take the crew, like the people who are playing the game to use it to make a penis? It's the time to penis.
Time to penis.
I was like, the time to penis ratio, and the whole episode was about how to mitigate the time to penis. And I was, the ultimate like end of the episode was like they couldn't mitigate it at all. Like, like it didn't matter what they did.
No, people will find their ways, dude. The people will find their ways for sure. And I mean, and that's something that we have, we've struggled to like deal with, is that, there are people that, that they just have to say that curse word. They have to, so they'll figure out ways around it, like spacing the letters out just enough so the filter doesn't catch
so the algorithms won't catch it.
Right using and like I don't mind if they like change the word a little, whatever. If you're gonna go to that length, I guess whatever. but yeah, people will go to very, very long and arduous lengths to be repulsive.
I totally get it. So I want to talk a little bit about something more practical, right? So I have a section of our show, we call it the Hero's Tool Belt, right? Maybe you got a big magical hammer like Thor, or a bulletproof vest like your neighborhood police officer. So specifically, this is more about like the tools that let you do what you do, right? So I think what would be interesting for my audience is like, what does it actually take to get online and stream something like that outside of the business stuff? Just like physically, what do you have to make that happen to actually get online and actually stream a video game?